And let me underscore, it's been a good evening for everybody, not just the Democratic Party. But what a night for the Democratic Party. A party that is in its ascendancy. A party that's on its toes, no longer on its heels. From coast to coast, sea to shining sea. But it was not just a victory tonight for the Democratic Party, it was a victory for the United States of America, for the people of this country and the principles that our founding fathers lived and died for. And so we're proud. We're proud here in California to be part of this narrative this evening. We're proud of the work that the people of the state of California did tonight to send a powerful message to an historic president. Donald Trump is an historic president. He is the most historically unpopular president in modern history. In every critical category, Donald Trump is underwater. He promised to make us healthier. He promised to make us wealthier. We're sicker and poorer. And he fundamentally understands that. Why else would he call Greg Abbott saying he's entitled to 5 seats? Why else is he trying to rig the midterm elections before one single vote is even cast? He understands his position at this moment in the United States of America. One thing he never counted on, though, was the state of California. Instead of agonizing over the state of our nation, we organized in an unprecedented way in a 90-day sprint. People from all over the United States of America contributed their voices and their support for this initiative. We stood tall and we stood firm in response to Donald Trump's recklessness. And tonight, after poking the bear, this bear roared with an unprecedented turnout in a special election with an extraordinary result. None of us, however, are naive. This is a pattern. This is a practice. Donald Trump's efforts to rig the midterm election continue to this day. And I'll reinforce that in just a moment. You're seeing him take action all across this country, not just in Texas. You saw what they were successfully able to do in Missouri, what they did in North Carolina, what they're trying to do in Indiana, and inevitably in Florida. They are not screwing around. In June of this year, we saw 4,000 National Guard federalized in the state of California. We saw 700 active duty Marines not sent overseas, but sent to the second largest city in the United States of America to militarize our streets. We said in June this was a preview of things to come. What more evidence do you need than what happened in Washington, D.C., what's happening up in Portland, cities like Chicago? When we kicked off this campaign just 90 or so days ago in Little Tokyo, in Southern California, in L.A., at the Democracy Center, Donald Trump sent Greg Bovino. He sent his private police force that increasingly appears to have taken an oath of office to Donald Trump, not to the Constitution of the United States. He sent them to our kickoff rally to chill free expression, to chill free speech, to intimidate people from participating. Just today, in Los Angeles, Donald Trump called up the Border Patrol, sent them to Dodger Stadium, and threw a fastball at free speech, right at the head, free expression, to suppress the vote in America's second largest city. Just did that today. People in tactical gears sent out to intimidate a community that is already on edge. But you see, as we speak, people are still in line. People waiting up 3 hours to cast their vote, to send a message to Donald Trump. No crowns, no thrones, no kings. That's what this victory represents. It's a victory for the people of the state of California and the United States of America. And this is a victory that's punctuated with a sober reminder that it's not just the actions that Donald Trump has taken to federalize our guard, to begin the process of militarizing American cities, to intimidate free expression and speech by utilizing ICE and Border Patrol in American cities. But he also announced today, right when polls were opening, that this election was rigged. That this election was rigged. Of course, those are familiar words. It's exactly what Donald Trump said after January 6th, that day of love, where he tried to light democracy on fire. He tried to wreck this country, and he called in to the Secretary of State in Georgia, calling up for 11, 12,000 votes, just like he called Greg Abbott, saying he's entitled to those 5 seats. He said this election was rigged, and he's moving to look for criminal prosecution and investigations at the Department of Justice. He is not screwing around. So tonight, I'm proud, but I'm very mindful and sober of the moment we are living in. Donald Trump does not believe in fair and free elections, period and full stop. This is not complicated, and it's self-evident to anyone paying attention. You start to stack up all of these actions that continue to this moment and will continue in moments to come. If you think I'm exaggerating, consider his announcement just a few weeks ago to send rapid response teams all across the United States, in all 50 states, tens of thousands of members of the military prepared for urban deployment. A preview of things to come. But back to this state. Our state of mind was resolute. Our state of mind was resolved to stand firm and to stand tall, to not be intimidated, to not be humiliated, to not fall prey to cynicism, to not fall prey to fear and the anxiety of someone that believes in only one thing, shock and awe, to intimidate and exhaust us. But we're seeing all across this country, 7 million people strong, standing up, not just for themselves, but for each other and for these enduring and historic principles of our founding fathers. And I'll end on that. Next year is the 250th anniversary of the best of Roman Republic, the best of Greek democracy. This fundamental notion of a system of checks and balances, of popular sovereignty, the rule of law. Mr. President, the rule of law, not the rule of dawn. And I hope it's dawning on people, the sobriety of this moment, what's at stake. Tonight, as I said, is an extraordinary moment for our party, but again, it's an extraordinary moment affirming those principles. Our founding fathers did not live and die to see the kind of vandalism to this republic and our democracy that Donald Trump is trying to perpetuate. And so my call tonight, in the spirit of Whitman, we talked about the powerful play goes on. We all must contribute a verse. And so we need the state of Virginia. We need the state of Maryland. We need our friends in New York, in Illinois, in Colorado. We need to see other states with the remarkable leaders that have been doing remarkable things meet this moment head on as well, to recognize what we're up against in 2026. And let me make this crystal clear. We can de facto end Donald Trump's presidency as we know it the minute Speaker Jeffries gets sworn in as Speaker of the House of Representatives. It is all on the line, a bright line in 2026. And so I want to thank everybody that stood up, not just for our democracy, but stood up for those that have feel bullied and intimidated, stood up for this notion of co-equal branches of government and a system of checks and balances. And I want to thank my wife who reminds me every single day that this is about those that feel alone, those that feel isolated, those that feel an anxiety and a stress that they never could have imagined in their lives. This was about saying to them, we have your back, we see you, you matter, we care. And I'll just say this, I'm confident as we move forward into 2026 in this country, the best is yet to come. Thank you very much.
Okay, you have been listening to Governor Gavin Newsom address the media there, talking about Prop 50 passing here in California, but also saying, okay, now I'm looking to some of the other states as well to follow suit, because I think he knows that, you know, you can't just do tit for tat, right? I mean, Texas does 5 and California does 5 type of thing. This now is a race.
Yeah, there's an arms race. I think all the analysis of where gerrymandering could happen, the Republicans technically win that arms race by a seat or two. It was interesting to me he mentioned Illinois. Illinois, there's a subtext to that. Illinois did a huge gerrymander at the beginning of the decade. Big blue Democrat state. Governor Pritzker there also wants to run for president. They gerrymandered out of Congress the most anti-Republican member of Congress, and Adam Kinzinger. So when Newsom now is saying, come on, Illinois, do your part, it's a bit of a shot at Pritzker, because I don't think Pritzker can any more gerrymander Illinois than it already is. So now, you know, a lot of flowery political rhetoric, but there's a subtext to all this now. There's many layers and layers as we enter into these presidential waters.
Yeah, speaking of presidential waters, we didn't hear what we maybe might have been expecting out there, a potential presidential run. We haven't heard that yet, but
yeah, but
soon.
we heard what he wanted to make sure everyone else heard, is that Californians lead the nation, and other governors should probably do the same. So, you know, I mean, I think to Rob's point, it's a shot across the bow at some of these other governors. Maybe it's not as easy as what happened here. You know, there's other, these states have different laws and constitutions and the way they have to do things. And, you know, but for him, you know, it was two things, right? Everyone else to get on board, take this serious, and I'm going to keep fighting Donald Trump. And that's what the message was.
We saw just today the governor in Maryland announcing a commission to study the idea. He didn't go much further than that, though. Where do you think the Democrats go next here?
Well, I think it'll be curious to see what comes out of this tonight. Is it going to be, you know, I think we started the program talking about New York City, and, you know, how did Democrats handle what happened in New York and versus what happened down the street in New Jersey, you know, and I think those are the things that are going to have to come out. Is to Rob's point, you had two people running for governor, two women members of Congress with backgrounds that had, you know, one was a Navy pilot, one was in the CIA, very different resumes than the person running for mayor of New York. So we'll have to see which of those is the path that people are looking for. Of, you know, we have candidates that have national security, they serve their country. Or is it somebody who's a democratic socialist who wants to give away, you know, wants to make the buses fast and free and open grocery stores? You know, very different.
That's a great point. Is there a big appetite for change in the Democratic Party? And then also, we'll get to you on the Republican side.
I think there's an appetite for what do we need to do to stop what happened last cycle? You know, there's too much. There's been too many losses that have been, you know, fundamentally shaken the Democratic Party. Now, you know, I'm not going to get a memo tomorrow from the Democratic leadership to say, here's the new marching orders. You know, that's going to have to work itself out as we move into this next presidential race. But, you know, there's studies that have come out where people have done, you know, research on, okay, what's the way forward for Democrats? And to me, Rob and I have talked about this before. It's a lot of what we used to do when we ran campaigns. We'd get good candidates who could talk to both Democrats and Republicans and independents. And we've lost some of that. And I think that's what we need to get back to, of a Democratic candidate who's not afraid to go and talk to independent voters and not be scared of them. But, you know, it's a lost art.
And I promised you your time, but it'll be short. Just your thoughts, 10 seconds or so?
10 seconds. Republicans are lashed to the mast of the SS Trump. The game is amongst Democrats. Newsom tonight is speaking to Democrats, but he brings up Jan 6. Voters knew that when they gave Trump the popular vote last year. Democrats still have to find an answer to what they're for and how they can govern if they become a majority party nationally.
Really quickly, Dr. Pan announced his run for 6th district. This is all stuff that's happening within just not even hours of
Moments,
the election
minutes, yep.
Games afoot.
being announced, right?
So true.
And so these are things that we are going to be following, of course. I want to show you a look at the results if we can, because that's what this night is all about, right? There you see it with 64% of precincts reporting. The yes vote has 65%. The no vote has 35%. Proposition 50 has passed. Of course, we'll see what that final number ends up looking like. Still very early. Y'all know how it is here in California. They got a lot of counting to do, but there are the numbers right now. We do thank you so very much for joining us tonight.